Welcome back to Rifleman 2.0, and today we're going to do something a little bit different. We are going to be going back over my all-time favorite video on the whole channel, the 1863 Sharps. Now, back when I filmed it, I could barely operate a camera, and heck, I didn't know a thing or two about editing, so I went through and I re-edited it and kind of refined things quite a bit. Shaved off a lot of dead space. This isn't going to be something I do regularly. This is probably the only one I'm going to re-edit. So don't expect that to happen frequently. It's probably going to be the only one. But I changed up some of the cropping in it to make it a little bit more entertaining. And hopefully the new version will do the original justice and make it a little bit smoother to watch. Now don't worry, I didn't delete the old one. It's still on the page. The link is going to be in the description. But this one's just a little bit more streamlined. So without further ado, let's check out the 1863 Sharps redone. Invented by Christian Sharps back in 1848 for the falling block breech loading rifle, and it came in both carbines and full-length rifles. Most popular was the carbine, mostly used by cavalrymen. Later to be used by most famously Berdan sharpshooters of the Union Army. They would have the full 30-inch barrels. Well, this is the carbine version of it. Now, it is a breech loader. It's not a traditional muzzle loader like they mostly had in Civil War, and it did use cartridges, but not the typical cartridges people are familiar with. They're going to be paper cartridges. So this is the beginning of self-contained ammunition. This is not the first instance of this, but this is just an advancement of what it was. So you didn't have to tear off the end of this. You could simply insert this into the breech, close it up, and put a musket cap on it, and it'll fire. As you can see in the paper here, it contains the powder charge. I have a little wad in there to help with the fouling, and then the bullet itself, all contained in this simple wrapper. On the back end there, the flame will go through and ignite the powder charge and send the bullet down the barrel. All a totally combustible, self-contained cartridge. Very revolutionary for the time, especially when everybody's still using muzzle loaders. The Sharps is a very simple design. All you do is you put it on the half cock, you bring the breech block down, insert a cartridge on there, bring the breech block back up, cap the nipple, take it to full cock, and then you'll fire. Give you a close-up look of the operation here. So with the big hammer on the side, on the half cock, and reaching down, get a hold of that, and it'll drop the breech block there. And you can see that you can load straight into the chamber there. So you'll take one of these paper cartridges, load it straight in through the back, and you'll bring it up, close the action, cap it off right there on the nipple, full cock, and you're ready to fire. Now there's two different schools of thought on how people like to load their cartridges. A lot of people will load up their cartridges just a little bit longer than the chamber, so there will be a little paper tail on the end there, so when you bring the breech block up, it'll shear the end off, leaving some powder right up against the flash hole. When you touch off the musket cap, the flame goes right into it, and boom, off she goes. That's a little bit problematic for me because it gives off a lot of fouling. There's inconsistent loads. You don't know how much powder you're actually spilling. It'll ignite some of the powder up there, and then some of the powder will get in. There's a little tiny gap there, and it'll slow the action down. Mine, I make them chamber length, and I use a little booster charge on the end of it. The main charge is 55 grains, and then 10 grains of triple FG for the booster charge. So when the flash goes through there, it'll light off the finer powder. Reason I do that is these carbines are notorious for having bad ignition. A lot of times you'll just get a pop from the cap instead of a boom. So I found that through some trial and error, the triple FG booster on there gives me pretty reliable ignition, almost I'd say 99% of the time. The genius behind the Sharps is its simplicity. Like we just went over was how easy the action works. All you gotta do is open up that breech block, put your round in there, close it up, cap it, and then you can fire the weapon. This enabled a cavalryman to easily carry these light carbines. They could load on horseback and fire without having to stuff any rounds down the muzzle, didn't have to worry about any of that. They could quickly open the action up, load one in, and fire. Now, these were later known to be the Buffalo rifles of the West. They basically kept the same design of the Sharps, and all they did was make a conversion here from the ignition when they moved to metallic cartridges in the 4570 on up, and they changed it from the musket cap ignition to have like a button that would go down to the firing pin. So the hammer would come down, push the button, which would push the firing pin into the primer of the cartridge, and then that would fire it. But other than that, the rifle remained unchanged. Now, the sights on these are pretty basic for the time period. It's got a simple ladder type sight, and on the base setting, these are set in 100-yard increments. So it's a 100-yard set increment from the base setting, and then if you lift the sight up, kind of do this one-handed, if you lift the sight up, you can range for further distances by using the slider. So I'm right about 50 yards from the steel swinger here. Let's see how she does. I expect it to hit a little bit high. We'll see. And sure enough, like we were talking about, it's pop instead of the bang. So we'll just get another musket cap, see if we can get a good ignition on this one. Well, I didn't get a ring out of it, so it probably went high. Let's give it another go. That's a solid hit. A little bit off to the right. So the Sharps is very well known for being a rifle of accuracy. That's why Berdan sharpshooters during the Civil War ended up using the 30-inch version rifle versions. Let's get on the tripod and give it a look. We'll start off at 50 yards. Alright, so I had a pretty substantial hold under at 50 yards. I got a pretty good idea where I need to be aiming, but let's give it a shot so we can at least try and get some sort of group at 50. That's a good hit. I expected that one to go wild. The cartridge broke apart on me. Let's try it again. Alright, so 50 yards. My aiming point was right about here. And then of course I hit a little bit high. So I had these two solid hits. It did pretty good. This is from that cartridge that broke apart on me. I expected that one to go a little bit low. And you can even see from the splash mark, the charge was considerably less than the other ones. And that's because, yeah, basically half the cartridge broke on me. Now, typical to these guns, they'll start to foul out pretty fast. So I think I probably put maybe 4 or 5 rounds through it. So I'm just going to do a quick wipe down of the breech block and run a patch down the bore real quick. Now to take down that breech block, real simple. All you do is you hit that release right here, bring that down, like that, and bring the breech block out, like so. This has got a little spring and pin in there, so I gotta be careful about that. And I'm just gonna wipe them down real quick. Alright, and after a quick wipe down and a bore punch, just gonna put it all back together. Now you don't have to do this as often as I do it. I just want to see how it does at 100. This is the first time I ever took it out that far. So I want to make sure that the action's running pretty good. So we're going to see, and I want to kind of clean that bore out every once in a while just to make sure that everything stays nice and clean so I can get some good shots in. Well, it's pretty easy to disassemble and reassemble very quick. And it's just a good practice to do some quick maintenance between the shots. But just like that, it's that easy. I'm ready to go again. We're at 100 yards, so let's see how the carbine does. I haven't tested the rifle at this distance yet, so we'll see how we do. Some of these cartridges have been a little bit finicky for me. I don't normally like to cut them off like that, but that's just the way it's ending up, so let's give it a go. Hopefully these sights should be good at 100 at this point. Might still be a little bit high. Yeah, I'll lean a little bit low on this one just to see. Alright, it looks like that'll be a center hit, so aiming low seems to be the way to go. Let's try aiming for that same spot. Just a hair under. Yeah, that seems to be doing a trick. I can't quite tell where the impact is. We'll take a third shot just to make sure. You might notice that each time I take a shot I blow down the barrel. Well, there's two reasons for that. In case I still got any unburned or finished off embers in there, I want to try and blow them out. Maybe out the barrel or just blow them out completely. But also, it's an old trick to have the moisture from your breath to help keep the fouling soft in there. Alright, let's get this third shot. Some of the shrapnel that came off the plate hit my spray can. Yeah, right there. Let's see how we hit on the plate. So, 3 shots, 3 impacts. That's kind of a wide group there. Since I was holding low, I kind of get it. But that's pretty wide. But they all hit on the plate. One in the head there, a little bit off to the right, and one centered. Probably give a couple more shots at 100. Let's just see how we do. There's a more consistent group right there. 1, 2, 3 shots. All pretty much in the same spot. A little bit off to the left. But that's okay. For a 3/4 man size target, open sights at 100 yards, that's not bad. Especially when I've been having cartridges bust open on me, but it's doing a pretty good job. Let's see if we can get out a little bit further. So I'll get things cleaned up a little bit real quick. And you can see some of the difficulties I've been having with it. And I'm in a pretty controlled environment here. Very low stress, nobody's shooting at me. I'm having to clean up the sharps every couple of shots. Well, with them fouling out so fast, I think this thing fouled out. And this is pretty solid after about 6 shots. Cartridges falling apart on them, the whole 9 yards. You know, you gotta wonder, what was it like? What was it like fighting like that? Probably wasn't very fun. Alright, 150 yards. Let's see how we do. Might still be a little bit high. Sure enough. I'll take that. Aiming right around the head of the target. So he's got problems, but still a fun shooter. Kind of hard to quit when you get started. There we go. Alright, I'm going to clean the gun up real quick. So 150 yards, let's see how we did. My aim point was right about here, so I started hitting low. So I'm thinking, let's see, I got 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Look like 4 hits on there from this round. I'll have to count how many rounds I shot. I know it was more than that, probably like 7. There she is. That's the 200 mark. Alright, so I think that went pretty well. Hope you guys enjoyed. I kind of enjoyed it. I think it's a little bit more streamlined. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Check out the original video, and we'll catch you in the next one.